right, I hereby call the school committee meeting of June 20th, 2016 to order. First, I will do the call to order. The announcement: this meeting is being video recorded and broadcast. If anyone else is recording this meeting, please identify yourself so that I may make an announcement. All right, seeing none, we will start with our salute to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion.
A motion by Ms. Peters. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Trombley. Any comments? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. It is unanimous. Next up is input from the public on agenda items. If there is anyone who wants to make a comment on any of our agenda items, this would be the time, or as I always do, I can recognize people during the discussion of that particular item. Yes, Mr. McKenzie.
I have an item for your agenda time, a comment. I have some good news. The Health Teachers Association has ratified a one-year contract, and we're pretty excited about that. We have, however, some bad news as well. We have rejected a 3-year extension of the contract. We had a meeting this afternoon, so we're hoping tonight, we're urging you to take action on that one-year contract, to ratify that, so that we can move on into the summer and deal with some of the issues that are still outstanding next year.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. McKenzie. Obviously, that the teacher's contract, the contract with the HTA is not on our agenda, except it is obviously in our executive session matters. I'll just, I would like to point out just a few things. One is that we've been negotiating this collective bargaining agreement since February of 2015. And then we negotiated, had many sessions over many hours with the negotiating teams. We reached a point where the school committee back in December of 2015 requested a mediator to come in and help resolve the contract. We had many sessions this calendar year, which led up to an agreement. A one-year deal has never been offered by the school committee. Basically, we had offered a 4-year deal or a 3-year deal. Basically, in the mechanics of that, it's either, if it's a 4-year deal, you have a 1-year deal, and then there's a 3-year deal. That's all part of a single package. There has never been an offer of a singular year deal, and then we'll just keep negotiating for some indeterminate amount of time. So we have on our agenda in executive session to ratify the memorandum of agreement for the entire 4-year package, which we'll bring to the school committee tonight. We can talk about all the details of that. It's disappointing to hear that the teachers have decided to basically not ratify the memorandum of agreement. And it's my understanding from an email from Ms. Conley from this afternoon that basically would like to reopen negotiations on at least 2 of the items that we have agreement on. Exactly how the school committee deals with that will be up to the school committee. I can tell you, I for one am not in favor of reopening and further negotiating items that have been agreed to. So I also want to point out that it's quite puzzling to me that we're in this position when we are rapidly approaching the end of the fiscal year for the town. And I want to reiterate the email that I forwarded to the HTA negotiating team that talked about what happens if there is not a fully ratified contract by the end of this fiscal year, which ends on June 30th, today being June 20th. And In an email chain, I have Mr. Brendan Sharkey, the HTA's representative from the MTA, asserted that we know that the town of Hull routinely encumbers funds without a ratified agreement to pay for other collective bargaining agreements in the town that are settled years after their expiration. The teachers expect the school department to be no different. And then I asked Mr. Phil Lemnios, town manager, to offer the town's perspective on the ability to encumber funds without a fully ratified contract for retroactive raises for, we're obviously talking about retroactive raises for fiscal year 16, whereas we've agreed to terms for raises of 2% for fiscal year 16. That's part of what we agreed to last Friday. And Mr. Lemnios' response is, Mr. Sharkey's assertion is incorrect. Town accountant Mike Buckley has no record of the town encumbering potential settlement amounts during his tenure, nor can I identify an instance of this occurring in my tenure beginning in 2008. Under MGL, the town accountant makes a determination on the validity of an encumbrance request. The town accountant has provided you with his analysis and will not encumber funds without a ratified contract. The school committee and the union have no jurisdictional control in this matter. A memorandum of understanding is not a contract and is simply an agreement between two groups that are doing the bargaining, that they will bring the potential agreement back to their respective parties for ratification. It does not create a contractual obligation until the school committee votes and the union body votes a contract based on the terms of the MOU. Either ratifying party can reject the MOU, as apparently has been done here, and thus push the process back to the bargaining table. An encumbrance requires an actual contractual, not potential, obligation to be legal. If the MTA would like to get a ruling from the DOR that provides an analysis that would allow us to encumber the funds, the town accountant would be willing to look at it. It should be noted that the town accountant's opinion on this matter comes from a DOR presentation that our auditors provided us relative to this issue. So I just want to reiterate that, aside from the school committee, that the strong position of Town Hall throughout this process has been, if there is not a fully ratified contract by the end of this fiscal year, then there will be no retroactive raises. There will be no encumbering fiscal year 16 funds to pay retroactive raises. It is my recommendation to the school committee, as we have reached an agreement on Friday, that my obligation as part of the negotiating team, that we do ratify the contract that we've agreed to, and we'll see what happens then in terms of the other side.
Can I ask a question with what you just read?
Yes, Ms. McCarthy.
So if I understand the sentiments expressed from that email that you just read, you could ratify a one-year deal for 2%. We've ratified it today. You could ratify that deal tonight. The monies would be encumbered, and we could pay the 2% to the 7 retired teachers who are leaving our school system, like Diane Greco. And then the language that is right now in quandary, because there seems to be some interpretation, that could be dealt with, but we could at a minimum encumber the money, do a one-year deal, and take care of the 7 teachers who are retiring this year. Is that possible?
I'll tell you, it has always been my intention to resolve this contract dispute before the end of the fiscal year, so that all the teachers, not just the retiring teachers, but every single teacher gets the fiscal year 16 raise that they're entitled to. And as I said, we've agreed to 2%. I have no issue with that. What I do have an issue with is that we've already spent a year and a half negotiating. We came to an agreement, and quite frankly, there is no quandary. There is an attempt to change the terms of the agreement from Friday.
That's not how we saw it. So I don't want to bargain here, because that's why there's an issue, because otherwise we would have ratified it. And so there is an issue, so let's just do the right thing by the 7 retirees, and then we've got some couple of weeks that we can work out what that difference is without holding these retirees hostage with the monies that they have earned. That's all I'm asking. So that we can then work it out. It's been 18 months. Another 3 weeks isn't going to change much. We've got the time. They don't. And I just passionately urge you to do the right thing by these teachers, because if it gets to that June 30th, they don't get that 2%. So, and we've got the time to work out the difference in the language. I'm just asking that you
I always
seriously
thought the
consider
right
that.
thing was to honor your agreements, but Mr.
That's why I'm
Twombly.
going to ask, what did, if you don't mind, can you read what Ann Conley, can that be read into the record?
Sure, I'll
As
read
far
this
as-
email that we received from Ms. Conley this afternoon. It was addressed to the superintendent. As I told you on the phone, the membership today voted to ratify the one-year deal, but voted to reject the three-year deal. In an effort to salvage the deal, we asked the members if they would ratify a three-year deal with the changes you proposed today, provided that the parties agree to a wage reopener for appendices C and D, and that we agree to lower the threshold for method of payment summer paycheck option to 51% or more. We received positive feedback and then took a ratification vote with these two modifications. The vote passed. Please let me know via email the results of the committee vote tonight. Thank you.
But there was a prior email, I believe, I'm not sure, I wasn't part of this whole thing, but wasn't there an email, a correspondence back to you basically indicating that they were going to ratify it? I thought was there an email from Ann indicating that today they were going to vote on it and ratify it?
Friday night, we-
Yeah.
Well, we reached an agreement on Friday.
Well, David, if this helps, we met on Friday, the team met on Friday, but it was oral. The mediator wasn't there, the school's attorney wasn't there, Brendan Shockey wasn't there, it was the teachers and Superintendent Turrell. And so we came to an agreement, but then we needed to see it in writing, sent out on Saturday, and then when we saw the hard document, when Brendan looked at it, from while we had been in the process, there was a misunderstanding. So some emails went back, because we had already scheduled the meeting today, and we want to ratify it. And we worked all day to try to come to the consensus of where we thought we were on the same page and where school committee had been in this 18 months, and there
So what
wasn't
changed
consensus.
between, I guess, I don't know if you can answer this question, but what changed between Friday afternoon and tonight, I guess? What's the change?
Tim will answer.
Hold on, just, yeah, not everybody at
I
once.
thought we had an agreement, but it's kind of surprising.
Me too.
It's not, so.
If I may,
Can you-
Mr. Chairman, what changed was at 12:30 today, the town's attorney modified that agreement we made on Friday night. 18 months inserted new provisions that we saw for the first time at 12:30 today. And that's the problem.
Because that's the appendix.
let me just qualify.
Okay, and, well, you know what, let me just respond to a couple of things. Assuming that you're correct and that the town can't encumber the funds do not just disappear within the year. The town still has them, okay? So that's not really the issue. We know that, it's not an issue, okay? The town has done this before, other towns do it routinely, okay? So that's not the issue, but assuming you're right, then that is an excellent argument that you made just now to settle this one-year deal. And I encourage you to do so. As you just stated, we have already agreed to all the terms of this one-year deal. Also, you know that we have to take two votes. You will have to take two votes tonight as well, because there's a one-year deal plus a three-year deal on the table. And that's all we urge you to do at this point, is take a vote on that one-year deal. I know you don't want to go back into negotiations indefinitely, as you said, but you know what? That's your job. Okay?
All right, I will just make one further comment about this, Mr. McKenzie. We had a memorandum of agreement that was forwarded by Mr. Sharkey to Mr. Toomey on Saturday at 11.
Sunday.
On Sunday, I apologize, on Sunday at 11:15 in the morning. And we have spent, Dr. Tyrrell and Mr. Toomey and I spent 4 hours this morning revising it because it was full of inaccuracies. It actually had language that would undo the actual agreements. And so then you received today at about 12:30 the school committees or the school committee negotiating team's singular memorandum of agreement. There is no reason to have two memorandums of agreement. There is a singular agreement. There is not a one-year deal and a three-year deal. It is a singular package. And there is going to be a definite end to this process. It's not going to drag on indefinitely unless that's what the teachers choose to do by not ratifying the agreement that we reached on Friday. What I read from Ms. Conley's email is reopening and changing the terms of 2 items, one of which we never discussed in a year and a half. And the second one is changing the terms of an offer that was made directly by Mr. Buckley from Town Hall that, quite frankly, the HTA never responded to until we received this draft memorandum of agreement yesterday, Saturday morning.
Sunday.
I'm sorry, Sunday morning, yesterday. So this is not about some quandary, some misunderstanding. This is about changing the terms of the agreement that we reached on Friday. Whether the school committee will agree to that, we'll find out tonight. But I do not see any reason to countenance going back on a deal and, quite frankly, asking for more after we've reached an agreement and, quite frankly, extending this for another year. There will be an end to this. Hopefully, everyone will get the money that they're entitled to in a timely way, and this will all work out great. But this negotiation has been bumpy, to say the least. With, I mean, this is not the first time that that demands have increased during the course of this process, and there will be an end to this.
So Eric, are you saying that, not to interrupt you?
Sure.
But are you saying that on yesterday afternoon, Sunday, you received a email or some sort of correspondence that went to Jim Toomey from the HTA rep with changes to whatever you agreed to on Friday?
Well, that was with their drafting
With their drafting.
of a memorandum of agreement, kind of putting into words the oral agreement that was reached on Friday afternoon, yes.
So there's, can I just state, because this is really important. Remember, on Friday, our attorney, school's attorney wasn't there. It was an attempt. We had met in the morning. School committee walked away. We met again in the afternoon without our attorneys. And as I said to the teachers today, we had an opportunity of 2 choices to choose right, and we chose kind, and we really believed that we were doing the right thing. It was an oral conversation between the superintendent and Mr. McKenzie, and we then shook hands and then said, we'll get it all in writing. However, what we had in writing from the 18 months, and it seems that what school committee had for the 18 months, are different documents. Nobody was changing anything. Our documents reflected what we sent forth. And clearly what was needed in the process was the opportunity to get the attorneys and everybody in the room to talk about it. However, because there's this threat that's over our head of not giving Diane Greco and the other retirees their 2% because the money's not being encumbered, that's when the urgency to do the right thing by these teachers came into the conversation late on Friday, and we said, all right. But so never did we ever enter into anything that's considered bad faith, or did we change anything? And with Mr. Sharkey, we're here, he used his notes and say, this is what we had. So clearly, it's been a long process. So we need to talk about it. But in that time, you have the jurisdiction to do the 1-year deal, give them the 2%. We don't deal with Phil talking about monies being encumbered and retroactive, and we can work out amicably these differences, because we don't see it as changing. We get in trouble. You can't do that. We can't change that. And we get in a lot of trouble doing that. So we don't see it that way, and we could work this out.
But theoretically, we could be back at the same spot we're in a year from now.
I don't know about that, because we talked about this today, that we feel like we would want to stay on the course with all the good work that we have done and just iron out these 2 or 3 issues that there seems to be some debate on what was the actual, what was considered a majority of the members. Is it 50% or 80%? We just would iron that out. Go ahead, Ann.
In addition, our Mr. Sharkey did in fact a week ago send the initial MOA to Mr. Toomey. So the one he sent again this weekend He sent both of them again with what we agreed to Friday, but it was a week ago that we had sent the previous, so it was not all just sent on Sunday. It was available previous.
Yeah, what was sent before was before we had reached an agreement, and it contained part of your ask. It contained provisions that the HTA was requesting, which were eventually not agreed to. It was not ever meant to be the sum total of what our negotiations were. And yeah, just a couple more.
So that email that was sent to Jim Toomey a couple weeks ago, did that include language about appendices C and D in it?
No.
No, the first we saw of it was this afternoon at 12:30.
Well, there's been no discussion in 18 months about the wages under Appendix C or D. Mr. Sharkey is not going to have a single note to that effect because that discussion never happened.
So, no, well, I'm just curious, I mean, if that's the issue with what you want to stay open, but yet it wasn't I'm just so confused as to where how that's now become an issue.
I think I can shed some light on that. And it goes back to several contracts ago. And we had done this thing where there's an add drop of steps. And so we were dropping that first step. And again, I'm breaking confidentiality here because we have a confidentiality agreement with the mediator. But I think by reading the emails, we've already broken that, so here goes. And so we added, when we dropped that first step, the coach's stipends were keyed on that first step. So the coach's stipends went up every time we dropped that first step. So in the last round of contracts, we specifically omitted the coaches. Specifically omitted the coaches last time. And Mr. Hipp, I believe you're under the impression that the coaches are always bargained separately. Your attorney has actually said the opposite. The town's attorney has said the opposite. They're always included unless specifically omitted. And that's the language that you omitted today, new language, new change into the contract, into this upholding agreements. And I really object strenuously of your characterization of these fine teachers as not upholding their agreement, when in fact the new language came from school committee today. But you did not uphold your end.
I will just point out that that is not what Mr. Toomey has said, who is the school committee's attorney, not just the town's attorney, Mr. Lamke. I will also point out that in a year and a half, we never discussed the wages of the coaches and other stipends under Appendices C and D. The only discussions we had under those items was one about notice to the coaches, whether or not they would be recommended to be appointed the following year, and there was a request by the HTA to add a stipend for the talk position. In the face of that, trying to be fair to all of the teachers, unilaterally suggested that the school committee not only pay the stipend for the talk position, but also include all of the unfunded stipend positions in the high school, which would include PHI, would include
Art club, physics
the
and
art
stuff.
club, the physics and stuff club, and there's a fifth, the mock trial team. Obviously, I've been the coach of the mock trial team for 3 years, but I am specifically not able to collect that stipend. Nevertheless, all of the clubs at the high school received stipends because we unilaterally offered it. We have never, it's just amazing to me, we have never talked about the wages for those positions, and now at the end, we're talking about it. Does anyone else on the committee have any comments or
Can I
questions?
ask Tim a question? So why didn't you guys ever bring this up? Like, why'd you wait till now? This doesn't make any sense to me.
He thought it was
He wrote it
included.
in
He
today.
thought it was.
That's why.
Yeah, we absolutely thought it
but-
was included.
In every contract, it
Yeah, we
just
just
gets
thought it
included.
was.
We specifically
We just said it
omitted
wasn't in
last-
the last round of
was
3 years,
included.
4 years with the contract.
For a specific reason.
Okay, hey, all
omitted
right,
it.
one
We
person at
heard
a time,
today
please,
that
sorry.
the coaches haven't received raises in how many years?
I
It's
think
more
we're
than
ahead.
4,
I,
8 years. Coaches haven't received
Will
raises
be
in
eight
It will
years
be.
if this, if it's.
All right, 8 years. Well, that's more than just the last 2 contracts.
No,
No.
it will be 8.
Okay,
Will be 8 years.
stop, okay, one person at a time, please, sorry. There's no reason for this to get,
Right.
we're having a conversation with one at a time, so. It just,
first
from,
we heard about it was at 12:30.
the first you heard about what? I guess that's what I'm
About
confused about, because
paying
on,
the
okay,
coaches.
sorry.
A stipend increase for the
From where
coaches.
I sit, and we'll talk about this in executive session, on Friday, there was a lot of back and forth between both teams. Everybody walked away. We came back together. There were 4 issues that were sort of the big ones, right?
Yeah.
That we agreed on. That two come together, that's negotiation, right?
Yeah.
Then, we think it's all fine, and now, just from where I sit, we're getting an email that says that there are, that you only want to do one, when we've been at the table for 18 months, and the one issue is a wage reopener on this issue that we haven't heard anything about in the 18 months, as far as, but you're bringing this issue forward.
No,
No, we thought
The
it
issue
was-
came from your side today.
So Stephanie, if I may, we just assumed that that 2% was going to apply to the coaches and to
But
the
why would you
stipend.
assume that if
Because
it
it had
has,
before in the
if it
past.
hasn't been in the past but 8 years ago?
We
No, and
specifically-
it's only because
Or
we're
one
talking about
contract.
going out. What happened the last 2 contracts was.
Is
it
that was
just
not
open to
negotiated.
add 10 minutes and the monies, and we didn't bargain anything. It was just, Tim was the president, and he came and said, we're gonna add some time. We didn't bargain, we didn't do anything, we just added time.
And we paid.
Right, but that was why the coaches were excluded from it, because it was an additive time, and we were simply not getting COLA. We were simply being compensated for our time, and that's how it was presented. So that was why it wasn't part of the process. But when I was the president, and we did get an increase, it applied across for the coaches and for the stipend positions. And so we just assumed, and I think Brendan did, we just assumed that that's what was gonna happen, when then all of a sudden that showed up. And then the other piece that, we've gone this far, is that around being paid every 2 weeks, and we would be okay as long as it was a majority. And so that seemed like it was a done deal, until an email, and today it said the majority had to be 80%. And we were under the impression that a majority was 51%, and it was the first time we had seen language that said 80%. So, not that we were trying to be contentious, but it was like, that's not what we thought. So let's just iron that out, because it's the 12th hour, and we want to make sure that they get their 2%. So it wasn't about adding anything, it's more about just coming to terms on the outstanding issues. And we actually then took a 3rd vote, saying that if it all worked out, that the teachers agreed that once we worked out those 2 issues, to ratify the deal. But we're not trying to add anything at the last minute, we're not trying to change monies. We just literally saw it this way, and it seems it was seen the other way, and we need to talk about it.
I'd just like to say one more thing. I think we're going to talk about this in executive session, and you strenuously objected to terms we used, and I strenuously object to terms that you used about us, and that we're threatening you, and we've walked away. This is a negotiation. At the end of the day, we're all here for the kids, and I hope we all remember that. And we're going to see each other in hallways, and we're going to see each other out in the public, and we have to get along. So let's try to think about the words we choose to use when we talk about this in a public setting, because it's disheartening to hear both sides. I don't need both sides, okay? So let's just try to figure this out and get through this.
Well, that's why we're here.
Well, that's why we're here too, and that's why we've been here, and I appreciate everything that the negotiation team's done from both sides, and we'll talk about it and we'll see what happens.
I just want to clarify, the 8-year preference is 4 years because of the reasons Tim explained, and then if this contract was ratified as is, it would be an additional 4 years, which brings the total of 8.
Does anybody else in the committee have anything else? All right. So we're going to move on at this point. We will be addressing this ratification issue in our executive session, as we are always going to, and we will see what the committee does.
All right, thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Good night.
Next up on our agenda is a student representative. Is there a student representative? We do not have a student representative. Then next up is approval of minutes. We have three sets of minutes. We have the April 4th, 2016 regular meeting minutes, the June 6th, 2016 regular meeting minutes, and the June 6th, 2016 executive session minutes. Does anyone have any comments or questions about
I'll
any
make
of
a
those?
motion to approve those as presented.
Is there a question or comment about any of them? Okay. So a motion by Ms. Peters, second by Ms. Huxtable. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous. Next up is school committee business items. The school committee meeting dates, 2016 to 17. We have in our packets a proposal for dates. Does anyone have any questions or comments about any of the dates?
Nope, not for me.
There's a few times that, where is it? A few times it seems like we're only meeting once a month with the tentatives. Can someone speak to why the 15th, Tuesday, November 15th is tentative and February 28th is tentative?
Sure. I can tell you why it was presented this way. We typically only meet once in November because that's the amount of business that we have. And with February being such a short month, we only schedule one and we put the other one there just in case we need it.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to make a suggestion, as I
Guess what it will be?
and it's really limited. I have a
We'll see.
focus, and so we'll see how we get with it. But I would like for us to have a meeting in July on either Monday, July 11th, or Monday, July 25th. I don't like going through the summer without having a meeting. There's several issues potentially to address. Budget issues. I don't know how the HDA negotiation contract issues will go. There's also some other ones. I would like to at least schedule the meeting. If it turns out we don't need it, we can always cancel it, but it's better to schedule it in advance. Yes, Dr. Tyrrell.
If by any chance you're successful here, I would respectfully ask that it be the 11th and not the 25th because of my schedule.
That is fine. Does anyone else have any conflicts
And I'm not
or
rooting for
something?
you on
I'm
this one.
completely against a July.
I have one question on that.
Yes.
I don't know how this affects you, though, but you
Okay.
can pipe in. If we did it on the 11th, is there any chance we could start it at 6 o'clock? Just throwing it out there.
A 4.
I don't know what,
6 is fine with me.
what Stephanie's boat situation, and I guess Jen's not here, so I guess she takes the boat too. So I don't know
Oh,
what
6 is
boat-
fine. 6 starting time is
Does
fine.
6 work for her, do you know?
I don't know.
You don't know.
I don't know her schedule.
So I guess we'll keep it at 7.
6 would
Well, you
work
could
with
always
me.
do
We can
6.
always
You
change it.
could-
You can always change it. Once Jen comes back, maybe you could, I mean, if we vote positive.
If you were to vote for this, I'd recommend that you put if needed.
That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm still not encouraging this vote, but
you
So
making a
I will
motion?
make the motion to add a tentative meeting on Monday, July 11th at 6 PM.
if needed.
Tentative if needed. yes.
Tentative if needed.
We'll throw in both qualifiers. That is my motion. It is seconded by Ms. Huxtable. Is there any further discussion about it?
I'm not coming. No, I just think if there's a meeting and we need it, we can post it. There's posting things, and I just think we work hard. We have lots of subcommittees, and I don't necessarily think that we need to meet July 11th. That's just my opinion.
Well, it's tentative. I think, for me personally, it's easier to put it on my calendar now than to start scrambling with like, oh, by the way, now we need a meeting. So I'd rather just put it in for the 11th. Turns out we don't need it, then we don't need it. But with all the negotiating going on, I'm not sure how much negotiating is going to go on over the summer. And also with the fact that I don't know about FY17 budget situation. So I think it is, in this particular seat this year, I think it is a good reason to actually add July 11th on the calendar. And if we don't need it, we don't need it. That's my opinion. But I would definitely talk to Jen, because I'm not sure
I don't know.
I don't know her boat schedule, so I don't know if she's on like the 5 o'clock or the 6, I don't know.
Obviously, if she can't make 6, but would make 7,
Yeah.
we could readjust that.
It doesn't say a time, does it?
In my motion, I said 6.
Oh, I'm
just
sorry.
because that was David's request, but we can always change that too. So, okay, so any further comment?
I think it's a great idea. I think that's a long time. You can laugh at me, that's okay.
No, just a great
I think
idea.
it's great. No, I think there's a long time between this meeting and when we meet in August, and I feel that sometimes there's a few issues that could be easily discussed during that time when we're not dealing with everyday operational things, more overarching. So,
Okay. All right, so all those in favor say aye?
aye.
Well, I'm saying aye, because I have to approve the whole calendar, right?
No, I'm sorry, I should
Okay,
take that back.
so-
I meant to.
now we vote on
we
one.
meant to vote on my
Fine,
amendment
I'll do it.
to, just for the 11th.
I'm a no then.
I shouldn't be, yeah, we're not voting on the entire,
Okay.
we're voting on whether or not to add the 11th to the proposed.
Okay, then I'm a no.
Actually, wait, let me step this back. Did anyone
You're doing the whole thing.
motion, or make a motion to approve the calendar as presented?
I'll make a motion to approve the calendar as presented.
Okay, is there, so Ms. Huxtable's
There's a second, and then
voting
you have
to
a
approve the
substitute
whole-
motion?
Exactly, so
So-
you're
so-
seconding.
You can vote on that, and then you can have another
Do a
vote to add
separate
a
vote
meeting.
on this, on the
Yeah,
11th, that's
it's
all.
fine. I'll vote for it with it in.
Okay, so
Okay,
then
so
I will
it's
do
in.
a substitute motion to add a tentative date, July 11th at 6 PM. Is there a second for that?
I will second that.
There's a second by Ms. Huxtable. So all those in favor of the substitute motion, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. It is unanimous, 4-0.
Mm.
All right, thank you very much.
How many years did that take?
Took 'em 7.
7, yeah. No, this is the
Six.
sixth one, yeah. All right, so with not further ado, Dr. Tiro has an award.
I do, and tonight I'm very, very pleased to be presenting an award. Mr. Devine, could you and Thomas go up to the podium, please? I'm pleased to be presenting the NESDEC Award for, to a student who has shown significant improvement in his studies at Hull High School. Thomas Nutsongtat, how did I do? Good. Was enrolled in the Hull Public Schools when he was first 12 years old. He was born in Thailand and he was raised in Thailand. Then he moved to Hull to live with his aunt and uncle. When Thomas came here, he spoke very, very little English, but if you met him now, his English is great. Congratulations on that note. Thomas has really applied himself. He's put many, many hours of hard work and efforts into learning English and into learning all of his subjects. And he gives the credit to his hard work, to that of his family, and to his ELL teacher, Mr. Mahoney. During your freshman year, you were in good grades in all of your classes, but you needed assistance. Today, in your sophomore year, less assistance, and today, you're earning great grades and you're completing almost all of your work independently. You've been actively involved in our soccer program, and you even ran for a class office this year. You're a kind young man, you're polite, you're considerate. Your fellow classmates and the teachers all appreciate you. They appreciate your friendliness, your good humor, and you being one of our most wonderful students and classmates to them. So I'd like to congratulate you, and we do have a certificate for you.
Congratulations. It's wonderful.
Great job.
And then I want to give you the certificate and have Mr. Devine, if you list
Uh-oh. Is it in the blue folder?
Yeah.
Oh, I've got it in the blue folder. I thought you had it. You put it there. This is the certificate. It says the National School Development Council Award Academic Growth and Student Leadership and Learning presented to Thomas Sonntag. Yeah. Congratulations.
Okay, wait, yeah, over here. Can you go over here? So we're not, well, I just, we don't want to be photobombing the NESDEC.
He's in my program.
Okay. Do you want to go ahead and take one too? Thank you.
Good. Congratulations, Tom. That's wonderful. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job. That's nice, that makes me.
Probably don't have any homework left. You should probably don't have any makeup on.
So you can
Feel
stay.
free to leave if you feel like it, or feel free to stay.
I will tell you, Thomas said that he will be coming to school tomorrow for a visit.
Excellent.
We always like his visits.
That's good. Thank you, too. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. The next item on our agenda is the PHI presentation. Mr. McKenzie has informed me that the students would prefer to defer that.
I bet they would.
Hopefully, they'll be here in the fall. Item 7.
Could be here in July.
Yeah, if they're not here tonight, they're not coming in July.
Item 7. Well, I think they were preparing for their finals and all. Item 7.3, the school lunch program. Mr. DeGennaro?
Yes, just a quick update on the school lunch. We do anticipate a financial loss at the end of this year, but we've been discussing ways to improve the lunch program and the quality next year. We're going to try to implement and expand our breakfast program at the Memorial Middle School and at the Jacobs School, and also maybe rearrange the lunch schedules at Jacobs School. Right now, they have 6 separate lunches. We would like to maybe consolidate that to save on time on the, for the cafeteria workers. So we're looking at other areas to see where we can improve. So I think that's where we're headed.
Couple comments.
Sure, Mr.
Yeah,
Cromley.
so, is there any chance, I guess the two things I'd want to look at is, number one, is there any chance that it's Chartwell's, right, that has the contract?
Yes.
So is there any chance that, I know that we have this July 11th meeting, so is there any way that we could maybe have them come in on July 11th or in the fall? And the other thing I was going to say, where we haven't done very well with the food service situation, I think maybe periodic updates, whether it's once a month, just to kind of give the committee an update, like where we are, how we're trending, whether we're getting behind. And then the other thing is, how many more years do we have on the contract with Chartwell's? Do you know, Dave? If you don't have the answer, you can just get back to us.
I believe it's year to year up through
think it is year to year.
FY19.
So it's year to year?
Right now it is, yes.
We're in the extension
We're
period.
in the extended piece of it.
Well, I think that's a good idea to actually bring them in then, because then we can kind of say to them, listen, either you make some changes and either improve the quality of the food, increase participation, or do some other stuff, or otherwise we're going to go back out to bid and bring in another vendor to do the work. That's my opinion. I mean, unless we brought it in-house, but I don't know if that's a viable option.
Well, we have been meeting with them on a monthly basis.
I know you guys do, but I think if
Yeah.
you could
We
update
could
the
do
committee,
that.
because
Yeah.
this isn't the first time that we've lost money. And I know that it's very difficult if you look across the state. Many food service programs across the state are losing money. But I know that we had a problem where I work, where we had lost money for a couple of years. This year, we're kind of trending towards making a little bit of money.
Yeah.
So, you can't do that. I mean, sometimes you have to change vendors. So that's just my 2 cents.
Is that a
worth.
contract, outside service?
Yeah, we have an outside vendor that does it. Yeah.
Who's the vendor,
Who's
David?
that?
We have Whitson's, actually.
Oh, what's
Yeah, we
yeah.
switched over.
Yeah.
We had Chartwell's, and then we switched over to Whitson's. So,
I can tell you as well that Mr. DeGennaro and I had a meeting with Town Manager Phil Lemnios last week, I guess, getting some of his feedback and thoughts about some of these issues as well, and he gave us some ideas to try to tweak what we've got for this year to try to get it where it is. Obviously, as you know, most districts lose some amount of money on the food lunches, especially after the new FDA requirements came down about a year or two ago. But that before it becomes a real problem, we need to address it. And that was
absolutely.
part of the point of this, is to talk about some of a little bit of the ways we've been trying to poke at this.
But I think I'd rather know, like, not to beat a dead horse. But if I were notified like once a month or every couple of months or whatever, that way I kind of know it's coming down the road versus like all of a
keep you
sudden in
posted.
June, you're like, oh, wow, geez, we lost.
Right.
Well, no, we did talk about it at
Yeah, but I
our
mean, more-
December
more- we
meeting.
did talk about it.
We increased that, no, we
Yeah, we did
increased it,
increase it,
yeah,
we did
yeah.
increase it.
Yeah,
And
no,
it was
we've been,
discussed at the budget subcommittee.
Yeah, that was one of the first things I think.
And then when we raised the price of the food, because,
yeah.
Yeah, I think that was when Mr. Gillis was even still here, is we increased the price of school lunch.
effective January of this
Just so
year.
everybody
It's been on
knows,
our
you
radar.
can't make money, you can make a little bit of money, but you can't
Right,
show
can't be
this
a
giant
profit.
sized profit either.
No,
So it's kind of like a balancing act.
It is. I mean, whatever you make, you're supposed to reinvest in the program, with machinery or equipment or.
And obviously, when you look at the prices we charge, this is not really a money-making operation. I mean,
Well, we don't have a lot of students here either,
Right.
so then we
I
have.
mean, lunch at the Jacob School is $3, and I think $3.25 at the high school, so it's,
But I do like the breakfast program, I think that's gonna be good.
Yeah, I think it'll work out. We did actually visit Brockton Public Schools, one of their elementary schools and one of their middle schools, to see how they offer breakfast to their students, to see how their operation is.
Is that Chartwell's that handles?
Chartwell's, yes, yeah,
Okay,
that
that's
also
good.
takes care of Brockton.
Good, good.
And the principal from middle school, Tony, was there, and also the assistant principal from Jacobs went to the elementary school setup. So they have a
That's
good
part of, I
setup.
think, the breakfast is part of the school improvement plan that I think they
It
presented
is,
to us.
yes,
Yeah.
Yeah. Last
So it's
week.
good. Yeah,
Last
2 weeks
week,
ago,
yes,
yeah.
the last meeting.
Yep, so that's good.
Yeah, good.
Can I ask a little bit about how functionally that works, adding breakfast to, say, the Jacob School? Is that sort of before school kids get in, or kind of how early, or is there a number we would
I think they
anticipate?
have
or
breakfast
kinda
now
how-
at the Jacobs.
Well, it is, it's very limited.
We have breakfast at the Jacobs now, but you have to get there early to take advantage of it, but we're planning on having breakfast in the classroom, if we can do that. And then they'll have about 10 minutes at the beginning of their day to have it, to eat it. At the middle school, it'll be a little differently. They'll do like a grab and go right when they get in, and then bring that with them, or, eat in the cafeteria if they have time. So there is some logistics that we'll have to work out.
At least they'd be
Okay.
getting 2 meals a day.
Yeah.
Should be good.
And just one more item on the lunch program.
Sure.
So tonight you have a policy, second read, I guess, on file IC, school year and school calendar. And it mentions in that policy the number of hours that you have to have a student be in the classroom. And it also excludes breakfast in the classroom. But I think there was a
We're okay on the time.
policy guidance, okay, that was just sent, given
Yeah, so
to
it says,
us.
based on the guidance, it says that if you have
Yeah.
to do two things at once,
Right,
teach and eat breakfast at the same
exactly.
time.
So-
We haven't
yeah,
made
so-
any final decisions on
This was just
No.
informational.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only caution I would say about eating the breakfast in the classrooms, you just gotta make sure the custodians clean the rooms well, because
Oh,
you're
of
gonna
course,
have
yeah,
stuff around,
right.
crumbs and all that stuff.
They have snack in the classroom now, don't they?
They do?
It's talking at the middle school,
Oh, at the middle.
right? If
Yeah.
we provide breakfast.
Yeah, if you
but we
start
don't
having
provide-
lunches and kids are breakfast, and kids are bringing it into classrooms,
Yeah.
I think that could pose a little issue.
They don't have snack at the middle school. They don't have recess. It's a very tough life there at the middle school. It's all downhill.
Hard knock life.
All
me.
downhill after 5th grade.
Good.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Moving on, Mr. Devine had already come forward with an AP Government course, and tonight he's looking for AP approval on the AP Government textbook that has been available for school committee review. At this point in time, a motion and vote would be in order to adopt the AP Government textbook, Government in America by Edwards and Wattenberg.
I'll make a motion to approve the textbook.
Motion by Ms. Peters,
I'll second.
a second by Ms. Huxtable. Saw you had it here before. I looked at it last week. It looked like a pretty good book, other than it made me feel old that all the pictures were like Obama and all this current stuff. But other than that, it looked like a good book.
Yep, I agree.
All right, all those in favor of approving the book, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous.
And number 7.5, FY16 budget discussion. I've presented my recommendation for a small surplus that we had at the end of this year. Approximately $8,000 for a Jacobs School kiln, $23,000 for computer upgrades at the middle school. We have a tripping hazard at the Jacobs School outside the gym for the sidewalk repair there. And the old truck is, that's a $34,000 request. The truck is a 2003 truck. It has 130,000 miles on it, and it's rusted out, and pretty much holding it together with duct tape. So this would be my recommendation, and I would appreciate, of course, any discussion and then approval.
Could we
I
just?
did bring it to the
Yeah.
budget subcommittee.
Yep, no, we did talk about it. This town has a love affair with vehicles, so I just want to make, when they see a new one driving around, they get, the stress level rises. So could we just explain what our truck does, so that when it's not just a truck that, you know, a custodian drives around?
The truck plows all of our school parking lots, and it moves equipment and chairs and whatever is needed between schools. It does a lot, and that.
We move
I know
mower-
it does,
we
but I
move
just wanted to.
mowers with it.
There's lawnmowers that are
Right.
moved, it
Heavy
plows all this,
equipment, lawn mowers and.
snow
Lifts.
blowers.
All sorts of equipment. Some of the lifts are moved with it, lawn mowers, snow blowers, the waxing machines, the strippers. We use.
So it's our
move them.
transport to keep our facilities?
It is, yes.
Okay.
yeah.
And it also
If something,
plows
if a
all of our
machine,
parking
Plows,
lots?
yeah.
and it plows the 3 school parking
Yeah.
lots. If a machine, a cleaning machine breaks at one building, while that's being repaired, we'll borrow one from another building.
That's,
I'm glad you
I've
brought
been
that
waiting to see Frank's feet, like, running underneath, like Fred Flintstone, because the truck is in dire need of being replaced. But
Yes,
I just
yeah.
want the public to be aware that it's not just a truck for him to drive around in. It serves a huge purpose for the district.
The
the other
truck's
question
13
was,
years old, and
Used every day.
It's used every day.
And then, I'm sure you already did this.
he does not take it home. It's kept it on school property at night.
Okay. So you've approached the town and all that. You've gone through that.
For several years.
There's nothing.
I've
There
asked
are no
for
excess vehicles in
a
the town.
surplus vehicle, a vehicle that they're recycling out, and they just isn't one available.
Just, so I'm not telling you have to do this, but I know that in Easton, we go through MHQ, which is on the state bid.
Right,
list.
and that's where that price is
Yeah,
from.
yeah, that's good.
That was
They're good.
actually the best price out of the quotes I
Yeah, we
received.
get the state bid price,
Yeah.
that's perfect.
All right.
Can you speak to the Jacob School kiln?
Yes, we have a kiln room at the Jacobs School, and during the construction of the Jacobs School, the kiln was omitted from the kiln room. And so outside the art room, there's a door that says kiln. It's all sized properly for that, and the principal believes it would be a good addition to the art program.
It was a budget cut, as that our project was coming in
Thank
too
you.
expensive.
That's
right.
correct.
It wasn't just an oversight. It was what I think for $7,970.
Which probably was
That's
cheaper back
kind of
then.
a silly thing to have cut out. But it's good that we have the ability to put that back in. And
What are the upgrades at the lab?
At the Memorial School, the computers that are currently in the library will be migrated to the tech room, so that the tech teacher will have full access to more advanced computer programs for drafting. It's not CAD per se. And we already have a fully equipped language laboratory at the middle school. So the library computers will go to the CAD lab, to the tech lab, and new computers will go into the library. So we'll have 3 functioning labs.
Good.
And at any time, we'll have 3, and the principal has worked with the teachers, and they're committed to having students in the library more frequently using these.
I mean, I think Dave already knows this, as long as we comply with Chapter 30B, as far as, like,
Yes.
we're gonna buy computers,
Yes.
Yeah,
if it's over a certain amount, just as long as we're
Yes.
within the law and all that stuff.
oh, yeah, yeah.
If it's a one-to-one program in the Memorial School, which it is, what programs are being run on the new computers? Because $23,000 is a good amount of money when all kids already have a one-to-one. They're already carrying a device.
Correct, and the principal and feels strongly that the iPads, that's one platform, but children need access also to PCs. So in the classroom, they'll still be using the iPads, but then they will have access to the PCs. We're finding that not having children utilize PCs leaves them in a little bit of it leaves them at a slight disadvantage. So what programs per se, I don't have that list with me.
I'd like to hear more about that, about what the disadvantage is. I know.
Judy?
I can talk a little bit
Okay.
about it on our tech committee, Kelly. We've done a lot of research on, the one-to-one iPad platform starting in grade 6 using the iPads, but in recent discussion, we're finding that when students are going off to college or coming to the high school, they don't have as much experience working on a desktop computer where they're using Publisher, or they're doing research on a desktop computer compared to doing it on an iPad. And we're finding that it's a different tech. iPad is more of it's a different research tool. And so they want the teachers using the keyboard, doing research, and using that type of technology, rather than just iPads, so they have
Additionally,
exposure.
If we do this, an entire grade would be able to take Park at a desktop at the same time.
I guess the bigger question that maybe you're grappling with too is that maybe the iPad isn't the platform. I know that that's a question that we've come into contact and kind of had discussions about. And so other devices instead of the iPad for the one-to-one.
We did it.
We had a study group, and they spent the year looking at that. They spend a lot of time talking about Chromebooks, and at this point in time, the recommendation is to continue with the iPad. I'm not saying that's forever, but with what's available now.
I just have.
We could do a presentation sometime,
That
Dr.
would be
Terrell,
great.
on
Oh, that would be a
on the
good
work
idea.
that we've done this year.
Maybe July 11th.
They were filling that
He said, we're
calendar
filling that
up.
baby right up.
But we could, because we did
That's
a lot
a
of,
good idea.
we
Why
did a
don't-
lot of
why-
research,
why
Kelly,
don't we
on that
put that down
topic,
in
and
September?
while we wanted to be consistent with our platform.
Remember, wasn't there like it wasn't computer-aided drawing, but there was something akin to that?
It's not called that.
Right.
But yes, it's
Like CAD work.
it's today's cousin of that.
Right.
There's online CAD versions that are free, from Tinkercad to CAD, like 1, 2, 3.
I thought
Fusion.
that was something that they needed the desktops for, that they weren't doing
yes.
on the iPads.
And you can do those on Chromebooks also, and you can also do it on the iOS version, so.
Okay. Anything else?
Nope, I think that's good.
So
That's good
we
stuff.
will do a motion to approve these.
I'll make a motion to approve the FY16 year-end proposed expenditures.
So a motion by Ms. Peters.
Second.
Second by Mr. Twombly. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? It is unanimous.
And that's all the business
All
that I
right,
have.
so now we
Mr.
are
Chair.
on to school committee policy issues. We have policies for a second reading. It's section I, section IA through IHAE. Do we have any questions or comments about any of these?
No, I'll make a motion for a second reading of section I, which is IA-IHAE,
All right.
instructions.
So I have a motion by Ms. Peters. There are-
Second.
Second by Mr. Twombly. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous. Next up, old business items. Subcommittees. Well, obviously the negotiation subcommittee has been hard at work. Any other? We had a meeting of the
We had a budget
Budget
subcommittee,
subcommittee.
yep, and that was really
that
that
was-
list that we just brought
was
forward.
this?
And any others? All right. Acceptance of donations, I don't think we have any. And then new business.
I had a question on new business. Two questions, actually. So, where are we with FY17's budget? Like, I know we talked about with the kindergarten program, so I think Kathleen had said she was going to get back to us with whatever was going to move around or whatever.
I did.
We could do it, so I've
And
never
I
heard.
met with the budget subcommittee, and explain certain things that will take place over the summer at the first school committee meeting in September. I'll have the particulars of it, perhaps even at the retreat. But until I have all the hiring done and know the salaries, I can't give you something precise. But I can tell you that we'll be able to dig out of the hole.
Okay, good. And I just had one other very quick question. I just wanted to know, are we all set with fingerprints with teachers? Like, are all the staff members have complied with that 100%?
Every single
That's good,
employee.
that's excellent. That's good.
Yes. Credit Debbie Bennett for,
Yeah, a lot of schools are struggling with that.
no, we have 100% compliance, and being one of the people at the end of the alphabet, Debbie stayed on us.
Okay, that's good, thanks.
All right.
I have something.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm gonna bumble all my words up like I usually do. So I'm just gonna read, right? So we have increasingly diverse student body, including teachers and parents within our school community. This diversity includes LGBTQ community. It's part of our mission to ensure that all Hull schools are open and accepting institutions, and that we provide support and resources to students, teachers, and families. I asked the administration over the next few months to review during the summer months where we are and what we need to do to support LGBTQ group of students. I'm for certain, I know that looking through our policies, we are including gender identity and other things. I'm just wondering where we are. Review our current policies pertaining to discrimination, bullying, etc. Do the current policies meet the unique needs of this group of students? Have we conducted training for teachers and staff so that they feel capable of supporting the needs of this specific student body? Have we reached out to community groups that we can align with in order to utilize all our combined resources and knowledge to help establish the best way to create an inclusive climate in our schools and community that meet the needs of our LGBTQ students? So I think over incidents that happen in the news and on TV, I think this is just something that is on our minds, and I just want to make sure. We just had Hull Pride, and I'm just thinking, where are we? How can we align? How can we share the good things that we're doing in our school? And how can we keep moving forward and working hard to make sure that our climate is welcoming as possible for all of our learners? So just wanted to, before we break for summer. So.
Okay.
I don't think there's, I guess I don't know if I make a motion, I guess this is where I kind of, or.
I would suggest, here's my suggestion, that, I certainly don't have any problem with, reviewing policies on any topic. This one is obviously it's timely, it's topical. Obviously we do have a lot of good things that we do in the whole schools. One of the things we did is through this last contract, we've all year been paying a stipend for the faculty rep on the talk student group here at the high school. We had an issue. We changed the way graduation worked in terms of the color of the robes in deference to gender identity issues, and so it's certainly something that's constantly being reviewed. And my suggestion would be that if this is something you want to sort of spearhead, to work with, I'm not sure who the proper administrator would be, but to take a look at whatever the policies are that you think need to be changed or altered. And I don't know, Dr. Terrell, who the right person would be, but to kind of work through that. And if you want to bring
I don't want to
something-
say because she's sitting right here, Judy
I know who it is too.
The default. Mike actually wanted to say
I
something.
will
sure.
say, I want to give you some assurance is that we have been quite responsive to the needs of these groups of children, and I think we're far ahead of most schools in this area. But there's always, it's always good to take another look and make sure that we're not missing something.
And I think in times like, when you think back 50 years, things were acceptable that aren't acceptable now, and things are changing, and how can we create an environment where we can just create more understanding and acceptance and inclusive for all people, for all kids, especially as in adolescence when you're grappling with those things. And I think it's hard for people it's happening to, and also being someone who's it's not happening to, but you're a witness and audience to that. And so we need to, and I think it starts conversations about just different families, different, ways, lifestyles, different everything needs to be, I think, talked about at all levels, not just among parents, but with kids. Kids need to have the ability to navigate that in the conversation. So
Did you want to
I
make
would
a
love to
comment,
spare.
Mr.?
I would love to
Did have
spare.
something.
We had the bug
The
before.
bug has gone right down the table.
That's fine.
I will tell you, Ms. Huxtable, that at the high school and the middle school, I know it's something, LGBT issues are definitely issues that are addressed in the wellness curriculum, definitely addressed in advisories, and that's really been a key place for us to address things. I actually had a conversation with a couple of teachers last week saying, could we try to fit an advisory in to address what had happened in Orlando, and just because of final exams, we weren't able to do that. I think one of the things I'm most proud of with our school is talking to students who self-identify as LGBT, who, as they graduate, talk about what a welcoming place that they felt that this community was for them, how they felt supported. Again, wish I could say we got it perfect every time. We haven't. And unfortunately, there's still some lingering intolerance out there towards people in the LGBT community. And when that rears its ugly head, I can tell you it's addressed in a manner that is quick and definitely sends a message about what will and will not be tolerated in our communities. So I'd be happy to work with Judy on any committee looking at those issues. But again, I just want the committee to know and the community to know our students, our teachers, our staff are outstanding when it comes to those issues. And it's heartening to me as a 45-year-old man to see 18-year-olds, 16-year-olds, when they talk about these issues, it's not the way it was when we were kids. It's for this generation of Americans, it's, yeah, you love who you love, and that's pretty cool to see.
Peters?
Oh, go ahead.
We've been, there's a safe school program through the DESC that we've been looking into possibly using for some staff training, but we have to find out some more information about it.
So I think a group to continue this conversation and not just. Sure. So.
I just wanted to reiterate what Mike said. I mean, having children kind of gone through the schools, my oldest is a sophomore now, that they're very, at least from where I sit, they're very accepting of all different kinds of kids. And I think a lot of it has to do with, having the collaborative there and kind of seeing that and developing that empathy at a young age. And, kind of seeing some children develop into what they've, really become. And just the kids are extremely accepting of it. It's always been like, yeah, whatever. He's like that or she's like that. And I've never, in the grade, at least my children's grade, have seen an issue where children have been like, negative or nasty or singled out a kid because of their sexuality or the choices that they've made in life.
And there's always a slip. There's
of course there
always,
is, 1,000%. But it's,
a
I think, for
student
the
that
most
needs
part,
to have his or her awareness level
without a doubt.
raised and to learn a little better that we should never be hurtful.
Right.
Okay.
So I think this is a great conversation, and I think a group to make sure that.
I'm not sure we need a committee for this at this point.
No, I
I'd
was just
rather-
suggesting
yeah.
particularly that, I don't know about making a subcommittee, but if you wanted to sort of meet with Judy and if Mike wanted to as well, and
That's
look through
good.
policies, and if there's anything you think needs to be changed, bring it forward and we'll talk about it. Okay. Anyone else with new business? All right, then we are at approval of warrants, and I don't recall there being any correspondence to and comments from school committee members. Does anyone have anything to report? All right, so now executive session. The committee is expected to go into executive session for the purpose of negotiation strategy with the HTA, teachers and paraprofessionals, and non-union personnel, including the superintendent of schools. An open meeting may have a detrimental effect. The committee is not expected to reconvene in open session. Can I get a
I'll
motion
make
to
that
that
motion.
effect? Motion by Ms. Peters, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Twombly. We'll have a roll call vote, starting with Mr. Twombly.
Mr. Twombly, I Twombly.
Who are you? I Peters.
Aye, yeah.
I Huxtable.
All right, thank you. This committee is now in executive session.